New overnight, the Ukrainian military says it has inflicted huge losses on Russian forces in what they call a successful counterattack near the eastern city of Bakhmut. This is where so much fighting has taken place over the last several months. The leader of the Wagner Group, which is the Russian-backed mercenary organization fighting there, is now also accusing Russian regular troops of fleeing. With us now is CNN military analyst, retired Major General James Spidermarks. General, great to see you here.
Good to see you, John.
This fighting in Bakhmut, this counterattack that the Ukrainians are claiming some success, and to see the leader of Wagner maybe verify that, describe the significance.
Well, what's probably happening right now is the Ukrainians are having some great success of removing what we call the enemy's eyes, their ability to do reconnaissance against the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are then conducting counter-reconnaissance, deciding where they want to attack, which is what we've demonstrated right in here, where they want to attack, so they concentrate fire, they concentrate forces, and then they penetrate through a salient as quickly and as deeply as they can. Well, that maneuver takes time, takes a lot of effort. We've seen the buildup, or we've anticipated the buildup. The Wagner forces probably have realized they were at the tip of the spear, we're not deep enough, we're not fulsome enough, and the Ukrainian forces have stripped them away. And so that's the challenge that they're seeing right now.
All right, so I'm going to erase that and put it back up again. That's a battle. What we're seeing in Bakhmut is a battle. What we have been expecting for some time deals with the war, this counteroffensive.
Right.
Show me where that could take place and how this plays in.
Yeah, John, there's a difference between tactical success and operational victories. You have to tie together a number of tactical engagements, which the Ukrainians do magnificently. They've demonstrated creativity, innovation, fearlessness in combat. But you have to have the heft, you have to have the mass, the amount, the volume of forces to tie tactical victories together here, and then you achieve this penetration, then you can hold on one side, and then you can reduce in that direction. We haven't seen that yet, so we are seeing the start of tactical victories that then need to lead to some type of operational advantage.
Let me put a different map up, and I'm going to mark where you just had before. This is Bakhmut, where you've seen the fighting there. And tell people that there have been Ukrainian drone strikes in Russian territory. Here. And then in previous weeks, we'd seen some attacks here and also in Russian-occupied Crimea. So this is what the Ukrainians are said to be doing. How are these drone attacks important, perhaps, to the counteroffensive?
Hugely important. It's about time. Russians in this area have sanctuary. They can go back, they can refit, they can reorganize, they can rest, they can refuel, etc. So they prepare for engagements. When you are in sanctuary, that gives you all the advantage. When you have no ability to rest, you have no ability to refuel, and you're back here and you're being attacked, that reduces your ability to concentrate forces going forward. So these are the deep fires that are essential to achieve that operational maneuver. If the Ukrainians can continue to apply pressure across the border into these sanctuary areas where the Russian forces are, it will limit the number of Russian forces. It'll give the advantage to the Ukrainians to achieve that level of success.
It may be that we are seeing signs of coordination about what is to come.
This is synchronization that we probably haven't seen at this level yet. This is good news.
Retired General James Spidermarks, always a pleasure to see you, even better in person. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
The governors of 3 border regions say they were attacked by Ukrainian drones, claiming the targets included a military facility. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military says it's inflicted, quote, huge losses on Russian forces near the city of Bakhmut. Nick Payton-Walsh joins us now. Nick, good to have you with us. In some way, it echoes the complaints that we got last week, once again from the Wagner chief, saying that they were in dire need of weaponry reinforcements. Do we have any way to verify the Ukrainian claims?
Well, partly because they're echoed indeed by Wagner themselves, who initially brought to attention the belief that a certain part of the southern front around Bakhmut, there'd been a 3-kilometer deep retreat by some parts of the Russian military. The 72nd Mechanized Brigade was the initial claim. Now, that was first aired by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Wagner head, saying that he'd lost 500 men fighting for that area. And again, he used this example as another moment to poke at the Russian conventional military, saying that it was the Russian conventional troops who departed this area, and essentially casting Wagner as those doing the bulk of the serious fighting to hang on to Bakhmut. But it's another display of disunity here, and also an example that the fighting around Bakhmut is definitely not going in Russia's way. A stark reversal from a matter of weeks ago, where we persistently heard thoughts that perhaps Russia might have the upper hand, might be able to potentially close off and encircle the remaining Ukrainian troops in there. Now we've had a week of public comments from Yevgeny Prigozhin saying he would leave today entirely because he didn't have enough artillery shells, then saying he would stay, then saying he actually wasn't getting enough, and now blaming the Russian army itself for pulling away from a key part of the front. None of this is good for Russian morale or, frankly, for the grip of Vladimir Putin on this increasingly disastrous war. We are days away, if not already in the early stages, of a Ukrainian counter-offensive, and so Russian troops in the trenches are hearing their most probably prominent Russian military figure, Prigozhin, speak very disparagingly about the commanders, the top brass running this war, and indeed now this appears to be translating into a small but significant, still a deeply symbolic collapse of Russian positions along this front line, confirmed by Ukrainian military officials who said in fact their troops managed to push forward. So we're seeing a lot changing here around Bakhmut, so symbolic for Russia. The one thing they said they would take, they said they'd take it by today finally. That hasn't happened, and instead we're seeing part of the Russian military, it seems, eroding small but still potentially important positions around that city. Julia?
One can only imagine what impact this is having on morale. Nick, what can you also tell us about the Ukrainians saying that Russia won't allow staff of the Zaporizhzhia power plant, the nuclear power plant, of course, to evacuate a nearby town, absolutely on the front lines of any apparent started or impending counterattack by the Ukrainians?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's unclear exactly what's happening inside the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It has been held up so often by Russian occupying forces as a sort of element of nuclear blackmail, and we don't really know quite what is happening inside it or around it. We do know that in Zaporizhzhia there's been evacuations called by the Russian occupying forces. 3,000 were the last figure of civilians. They said they've moved away from frontline towns. Certainly that includes the areas, larger numbers around potentially the Zaporizhzhia plant, that town being evacuated, Energodar. But there is a constant fear here of exactly what we may see in terms of Russian firepower focused on frontline towns. We've seen it ourselves. I'm hearing sirens around me here in Zaporizhzhia at the moment that have been on off, frankly, for the past week or so, and those evacuations perhaps heralding Russia's military bracing itself for a potential Ukrainian onslaught, or also Ukrainian officials saying being used as cover to let Russian military pull out of some of those towns as well. So a lot moving certainly in the northern parts of the Zaporizhzhia occupied area. Julia?
Nick, great to have you with us. Nick Paton-Walsh there. Thank you.